All right. Hi, everybody. This is Matt Young, PAML principal. Today is January 12th, 2021. Adding a communication here today just to bring everybody up to speed on where things are in response to the positive case in our school community from yesterday. As always, trying to communicate our care for students and their safety, just trying to address everyone's fear and anxiety by sharing what we know now, and just communicate our continued support and commitment for high quality, rigorous learning. As you remember, just like every other communication, what we do in here is only limited by what happens out in the community. And we all have to commit to everybody's safety. So please wear a mask, wash your hands often, practice physical distancing, stay home when you're sick, travel only when it's essential. And the big one at the bottom here, please avoid those multi-household gatherings. Please help us help students wear their masks correctly over the nose and mouth. And this is the few changes to this slide, that's typically been about staying connected. We have our strategy of using our Wednesday schedule for a sudden remote day really worked today. Things seem to go smoothly. Please use the Wednesday schedule again for tomorrow. And also for students that do need to be out for quarantining or really any other reason on our hybrid days, you can use the links on the right to stay connected with us. Starting yesterday morning, we began a process known as contact tracing to identify all the close contacts of the person that we identified as testing positive for COVID-19. And the standard that we use is within 6 feet distance for more than 15 minutes. Really nice video on the right here that just talks about the importance of contact tracing and why it's really helpful in limiting the spread.
How contact tracing slow.
So how do we determine a close contact? Like I said, within 6 feet of distance for a total of 15 minutes within a single 24-hour period. And we really focus on those close contacts. Anyone else is then considered a contact of a contact, and it is not determined to be at high risk. And we trace back the contacts back to 2 days from when the individual tested positive, and work our way forward. A close contact does not mean simply being in a room with a person or walking by them. I included a really handy list on the bottom left here, and this source is from the Vermont Department of Health. If a person is determined to be a close contact at day 0, we will let them know, which we did yesterday. And then they're asked to begin a 14-day quarantine period. We do have the option on day 7 of getting a COVID test. If those results come back negative, quarantine period is over. Without a test, the individual must go all the way through a quarantine period through day 14. If we have asked a student to quarantine in Lamoille South, we also expect that student's siblings to stay in quarantine as well. So what do you do if you're a close contact? Lots of information here. You can certainly read on your own. It does get tricky, in the household, staying in a specific room, staying at least 6 feet apart, wearing a mask, avoid sharing items, things like that can really help limit the spread if in fact somebody in your household has been determined to have a close contact. While you're waiting for results, you can do these things. One thing I just want to make clear is that testing immediately after you're notified is helpful to know in that moment, but in terms of whether a person has been infected as a result of the contact in question, it takes a few days. So that's why we have to wait till Thursday for contacts that were identified yesterday. Our plan going forward is to continue to monitor the members of our community who've been asked to quarantine. We're going to update our plans as we know more and as we get some results back. We are going to open for in-person instruction for students in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade on Thursday, January 14th. We're going to ask that the 8th graders in the green cohort stay out of the building for just one more day. That'll give us a chance to get some test results back and get a bit more information before we bring that group in. Athletics and Unbound for students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, gold only, will resume on January 14th. Students in the 8th grade gold cohort, unless we ask them to quarantine, they can return on Friday, January 15th. Students in the 8th grade green cohort may resume athletics and Unbound activities on January 19th. Monday, though, is a teacher in-service day, so there's no school on that day. So students in the 8th grade green cohort do end up having to stay out of the building until January 21st, unfortunately. We're going to try and design some more live opportunities for that group just so we can limit the amount of time we don't have contact with them. Boys basketball practice can resume on Tuesday, January 19th. And just as a reminder, we did have a handful of 7th graders who were identified as close contacts. So even though we're welcoming 7th graders back in the building, if someone has been identified as a close contact, they need to go through the full quarantine process and test at the earliest on Thursday. So that's all the information I have at this moment. I'm sure there are lots of questions. Please feel free to add them here in the link, and I will answer them a little later this week. Thank you.